Welcome to Conversations with Cubit. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thanks for supporting these weekly conversations. Your emails, your text messages, the countless inbox messages that we get from week to week have been very encouraging. Now, I am excited about tonight's conversation, and I'm excited about tonight's guest because it is a good friend. And I hope you were able to keep up with us last week. We had 3 straight nights of great conversations last week. But don't worry, if you missed any of those conversations last week, I got you. They have all been uploaded to YouTube. Just jump over to YouTube and look up Conversations with Cubit. Once you get there, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Then you're free to browse any of our past conversations. You won't be disappointed. Now, as you know, as the weather warms up and we move closer to summer, we often experience a significant increase in crime and in particular gun violence. So last week on Conversations with People, we talked with Nikki Nice and Pastor Mike from Oakland, California about a peace summit that was being held here in Oklahoma City to address gun violence and to usher in peace for the summer. This event was the brainchild of my friend J.B. Williams, and I was able to catch the tail end of that event, and I was very impressed and I left very hopeful. Well, our guest tonight also attended this event and also knows a little about gun violence from a personal experience. So before we get started, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share tonight's conversation. Hit the share button right now. Please share this conversation with the community. It's very, very important that we talk about gun violence and the solutions. Well, as always, I want to give a great big shout out to my friends out at Green Pasture Studios who graciously host our weekly conversations. The studio is located in far east Oklahoma City, and they are doing really cool stuff out there. Everything from full-fledged movie productions to commercial. They even have a film training academy out there, and for those that are interested in getting involved in the film industry. Look them up online for more information and learn how to get involved in what they're doing out there. You will love it. Now, as you know, I only have 3 simple goals for these conversations. 1, I want to add value to people and to my community. 2, I want to inspire you to believe in what people and communities can become when we're willing to work together. And last but not least, 3, love people, period. Just love people. All this means is I want you to be inspired. I want you to get useful information, and I want to provide some resources, and then I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation will be about information, inspiration, and hope. Now, let's get started. Joining me tonight is my friend Jed Chappell. Jed is the CEO and co-founder of City Center. City Center was founded in 2016 with the mission to bring relief and restoration to lives in Oklahoma City. Led by Jed Chappell and his wife Julie, City Center was brought to life out of their great love for Oklahoma City. Jed has a powerful life story. As a reckless young, living as a drug dealer and criminal, to becoming a pastor committed to seeing lives in Oklahoma City, the same city he helped poison, fully restored. Jed moves around this city looking for solutions, partnering with other people who seek to be the solution. And he has worked with me side by side with incarcerated youth inside of some juvenile correctional facilities. He is a man of action, and I love just being around him. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome my friend, Jed Chappell, to Conversations with Cubit. Thank you, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate
I cannot wait. Now, yeah. I usually start out with some really fun questions, asking you whether you prefer car, truck.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
Truck.
Okay.
Truck.
Yeah.
I have a truck.
But today, I just on the way here, just after work today, we learned about another mass shooting.
Yep. In a school.
In a school.
Yeah. It's devastating, heartbreaking.
And I don't even know if we can talk about gun violence today.
Sure.
If we don't acknowledge what happened there.
Yeah, my wife texted me the story while I was sitting here waiting to go on the show, and it breaks my heart. You know, I have a deep love for young people in our community here in Oklahoma City, and to see another school affected by gun violence, you know, it absolutely rips me apart. You know, and I don't know what the there's not an immediate solution, I don't think, but there's a long-term solution. There's, and there may be an immediate solution. I may be wrong in saying there's no immediate solution, but this has got to change, and we are the ones that can help implement change. So I know here in Oklahoma City, I'm definitely committed to being a part of whatever that looks like, because, it's going to take all of us together, working together to figure out ways to keep our young people safe.
It's sad. I want to punch something.
I know, exactly.
I want to punch something. I mean, this is an elementary school.
Yeah.
First, second, third graders, 14.
Yeah.
Chokes me up.
Takes my breath away.
And I know there's going to be people out there. Get ready for it.
Yeah.
We're going to turn on the news tomorrow, and somebody's social media, and they're going to say,
yeah.
well, if those teachers would have just had guns.
Sure. Yeah.
The solution for a lot of people, and that's going to get most of the noise is going to be more guns.
Sure.
Fix the solution.
Sure.
There's somebody's going to say, "Oh, quit blaming guns. Guns don't kill people. People kill people." That's going to be tomorrow. Brace yourself. Get ready for it.
Sure. Yeah.
We are the most armed nation in the world.
Right.
And nobody is dealing with what we're dealing with.
Sure. I don't, and I can't say that I don't know if more, it doesn't seem like more of what's killing us is the answer. It doesn't seem like, I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm honestly speechless right now, but I like to hear your story about the bridge you told me. That's an interesting story.
Well, I'm just frustrated. And so I'm just going back. So I read, and I don't know if it was Malcolm Gladwell's, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell, and I don't know if it was Talking to a Stranger, but they did the research on the San Francisco Bridge, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when they first built it, it was a crazy amount of suicides, people going to the bridge and jumping off the bridge.
Right.
And they wanted to reduce that number. Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't tear the bridge down.
Right.
Right. They put up a safety guardrail.
Right.
And so people could jump if they want to, but they're just going to get caught in the guardrail. They're not going to fall to their death.
Right.
As a result,
was it a net, like a safety
I don't know
net?
if it was a net or just a guardrail or
Gotcha.
something,
Okay,
but what happened is the amount of suicides even attempted went to almost nothing.
Right. Yeah.
They stopped the mechanism in which people were killing themselves.
Right.
It did not mean that they didn't go home and get a gun or jump off the next building or something like that. But what happened is they didn't go there to do it. Right. They changed the mechanism. Mm-hmm. And so my thought when I think about that is we may not be able to. Yeah. What if mass shootings and all this kind of stuff is the same as that suicide? Sure. How do we change the mechanism?
Sure. Yeah, it's a valid point of logic for sure.
Right. Yeah. It's something. Maybe the mechanism is guns. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe putting a guardrail over the guns. Something has to be done with guns. Yeah. And I'm a gun guy. Sure. Why? I'm a cop. Yeah, 26 years. I mess with a gun every single day. Yeah. Right. So I'm not trying to rip guns away from people's hands. I'm trying to put up a guardrail. What is it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's devastating, and I want to see change. And when is this going to hit Oklahoma? Well, how can this affect Oklahoma? So how can we, before it gets there?
That's a good question. When? Yeah. Not if.
Yeah.
You framed it right. When?
Yeah.
And I don't want it happening here. I don't want it happening anywhere.
Sure.
Right. And so this whole conversation that we're having is about gun violence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And because it mostly impacts young people. Right.
It does. I'm definitely a story that can definitely relate to that. My story directly relates to that.
Directly relates to that. Okay. So let me go back. So our hearts go out to the people in Texas, those parents, those loved ones that have been impacted by today's violence. And I know a lot of people are triggered, like I am right now, that probably doesn't know anybody in that town or in that school. Yeah. But I'm upset. So my heart and our hearts and prayers are going out to not the entire nation, but specifically to those parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now.
Yeah.
So we're not in studio right now. We are in
City
your
Center.
wheelhouse. We are in City Center.
Yes,
absolutely. And so I'm sure a lot of people in the mentoring space, like a lot of people that watch, will know a lot about City Center.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
But there are going to be some people that don't know anything about City Center.
Definitely.
So tell us about it.
Yeah, so we are a resource center for families and youth. So we actually provide a food pantry, a clothing closet for families in this community. In the Putnam City Schools District, where we sit in More Acres, There are food insecurities, so we offer that food pantry to families that have needs in that area. We also have a hygiene in that food pantry that people can access. So we love just being a safe space for families and youth to come. We also have a youth program in the after school hours. You're very familiar with that as well, the FACT program. And so in the summertime as well, we have programming for them as well. So it's just a really fun, safe space for people to come. Something unique we did with City Center was we created our space to feel like a very welcoming, home-like environment. So there's some centers that I've seen in the past that can seem very sterile. We wanted to change that. We wanted to make it feel like a place where, you know, when I walk into it, I wanted it to be a space where I want to send my kids.
Right.
You know, and so my kids have come to City Center before too. So it's a space that just feels warm and inviting. So, and when you come in, our nutrition coordinator cooks home cooked meals.
You can smell it when you walk in.
Yeah.
It's like,
There's some home cooking going on. So, and she does a really good job. So we raise the funds to actually cook home cooked meals with ingredients that we purchase from the store.
And it's not a dining room area.
Yeah.
It's not like a cafeteria. It's
It's a
kitchen.
We refer to everything in home terms.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the closet, that's the living room, that's the dining room, that's the kitchen. And so when the kids come in, it feels like home to them. And we call it's a safe space for our families and youth.
Tell me where it's located, because you don't want people just flocking here from all over Oklahoma City, I bet.
Exactly.
You're serving a particular area of the city. Talk about that.
Northwest OKC, so it's over off 42nd and MacArthur, over there here in War Acres.
Yeah, so most of your kids will be Putnam
City
kids.
Putnam City Original, some kids from CAPS, some kids from Central Elementary. So yeah, in the Putnam City schools.
What's the ages? Are you doing just anybody walks in? What are we doing?
Our kids range from elementary, middle school, high school. So we have all ages for sure.
Yeah. And you have everything to offer.
Yeah,
I've seen it all here.
Yeah,
this is the Taj Mahal of youth centers.
You know, we like to say that it's an old church building, so you know we had to do some renovating, but we love our space. So yeah, we try to offer a few things, and we try to offer that well in the resources that I mentioned. And so those things that are out of our wheelhouse, we say we don't want to reinvent the wheel. One thing we are excellent at is making friends. So for instance, right now in this space, as we speak, there's another program partner that does mentorship with kids that are in the foster care system or in the juvenile detention system, and they come to our space and they use this space and treat it like home too.
Yeah.
And so we try to lock arms with other people. One of my mentors, Wes Lane, he says this statement all the time. He says, "The kingdom of God is built at the speed of relationships." So when we can't do it all by ourselves. You know what I mean? Kind of to the point of the Peace Summit that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
We have to lock arms with other people that are doing things well. I'm not over on the east side, so I lock arms with Waylon Cubitt. I'm not over, or Marcus Jackson. So when we do that, when we lock arms together, we're so much stronger together. And so you'll see a lot of different program partners in our space. Another good example of that is the Sparrow Project. Mm-hmm. They help Afghan families who are resettling here in Oklahoma, and they do English as a second language classes. They help them with legal services, and they do that right here in our space. Yeah. Because there's families that are living over in the Lyrewood area as we speak.
And I appreciate you sharing that partnering aspect, because your footprint is in other places people would never know.
Sure.
Yeah, your footprint is in other places in the city through partnering where people would never even know. So, and you share your knowledge and your wisdom in that space. But while we're talking today, we're talking about gun violence. We're talking about the Peace Summit, and this weekend, Saturday, matter of fact, JB organized, and we interviewed Pastor Mike and Nikki Nice about this last week, but he hosted a Peace Summit, and I thought it was really, really cool where the idea came from, and he talked about it. He said, he was doing a concert on Juneteenth, and he was criticized because some activity or some negative behavior, I don't know what he was talking about, maybe a shooting or something, that happened late night after his concert, and he was criticized for having the concert so late here in Oklahoma City.
Right.
But he performs everywhere, and he said, I was doing the same type of stuff late night in Norman at the same time, and that's considered okay and safe to do it there.
Yep.
And he wants his city to be considered that safe as that. And so as we move into the warmer months, he thought it'd be critical to come up with a different plan where everybody doesn't have to get locked up, but a peace plan that's not just on the hands of the police to provide that peace. Right. And so you decided to attend. Why did you decide to attend?
Well, I have a personal story of myself being a part of gun violence, and I think, I can share the try to share the 5 minute.
Right, of course, yeah. We got to tell it. Yeah, we got to tell it at once the point.
You know, I grew up in Northwest OKC, and part of why we do what we do here is because of my personal story. But when I was 14 years old, my life kind of got off track. My father passed away when I was young. Started selling drugs for one of my older brothers from 14 to around 18 years old, and that led to when I was 18, I got involved and wrapped up in an armed robbery, actually home invasions. Thankfully, nobody was ever home in that process, but I carried a gun everywhere I went for protection, and just because I was doing what I was doing, carried a lot of money on me. And as I was leaving one of the homes, I was confronted by a police officer, an Oklahoma City police officer. Drew my weapon on him, very bad idea. And before I could squeeze the trigger, he shot 4 times, hitting me in my chest, arm, and in my hand. And lost 65% of my blood supply, flatlined in the ambulance for 20 seconds. Woke up handcuffed to a bed in ICU. I realized I should probably change a few things in my life at that point. And I wish I could say I actually did. You know, I was out on bond for several months, for 7.5 months. Ended up getting sentenced to a 47-year prison sentence here in Oklahoma. Really, by the grace of God, only served 8 years on that sentence and got out. God radically changed my life in that whole process. Ended up becoming a pastor, obviously, and just realized that I had something to contribute back to Oklahoma City, and started mentoring kids in low-income housing communities through the church that I was serving at. You know, and then things came around, and City Center was something that I wanted to give my heart and life to begin to serve the city. But in that process, I realized that there's a lot of gun violence that goes on in Oklahoma City. And so I was one of the people perpetuating gun violence in Oklahoma City.
Right.
And so I'm being a person that has been directly affected by gun violence. You know, I just felt like, you know what? We have a way to influence some of the people that are also driving some of the current gun violence now. And so that's really what made me want to be a part of the Peace Summit as well.
And what's interesting in my view,
yeah,
is when we say gun violence, people's mind automatically go to just the people that are shooting.
Right.
And you and I talked about it.
Yeah.
Gun violence is not necessarily. It is the people that are shooting.
Right.
But we want to target the people that are involved in activities that lead to shooting.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Like you were saying, I was carrying a gun because of what I was doing, and I had a lot of cash and the kind of people I was hanging around with.
Yep.
So you would have been really at risk of becoming a victim or a perpetrator.
Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't running around shooting people. I was just carrying a gun. I say just, but I was very at risk of becoming, I actually got shot. And if I wasn't carrying that gun, if I wasn't participating in these activities, if I had a city center to come to, that could have changed the game for me. And so see, me and my wife, we created this space for kids just like me, you know? Right. And we see kids that come to our center. Matter of fact, there's some kids that have graduated recently that were carrying guns at one point when they first came to our center, that are no longer carrying guns. So how can we preemptively get into the lives of some of these young people, and even maybe adults? I don't know, you know, whoever's perpetrating some of these crimes or getting involved in some of this criminal activity, how can we wrap our arms around them and be the community that they need? You know, if it takes a village to raise a kid, it takes a city to raise a village of kids, you know? And so it takes all of us together. And what I heard at the Peace Summit is, you know, it's not just law enforcement's job. It's not just the church's job. It's not just the community at large's job. It's not just the single mom's job. It takes all of us together to pool our resources to help combat this issue. And we can do it preemptively. We can show up before the police have to show up. You know,
right.
It makes it so much harder for you guys, I think, to tackle the issue.
It was really interesting when I walked in. I was severely late, and I walked in, and I'm going to sneak in.
Yeah.
And JB and the others that organized this did a phenomenal job of filling the room, because I was looking for a place to sit.
Yeah. And
I was going, ooh, I know the people over there, but they're activists, and I know the people over there, they're faith-based people. Oh, and there go the cops, my buddies, and I can go sit with them.
Yeah.
And then there's the political people. I can go sit with. It was really diverse.
Very diverse.
And the kind of people were there. Talk to us about the messages and the kind of thing that takes away that you were seeing during that day? Because it was an all-day thing.
Yeah, it was an all-day thing. It was the messaging was really amazing because, we think about there's all these people that are shooting and killing each other. Well, the thing that stood out to me the most was 2% of all these people that are killing each other are actually the ones driving the violence, perpetrating the violence.
Yeah, something like 2 to 3%.
Yeah, 2 to 3%
are driving 80-90% of the violence in a city.
Yeah,
in a major city. And we're talking about these people that came to help us were coming from Oakland. They did this in Oakland.
And they've done this in Oakland. And in Oakland, gun violence has been reduced by 50 to 60%. I heard that, I'm like, mind blown. We got this. We're in Oklahoma City. We're a tight-knit community. And we got people in Oklahoma City that are movers and shakers. Mm-hmm. And we have people that have influence. And we have people not only have influence, that have influence with the people driving the violence.
That's right.
You know what I mean? People that have stories, that have street credibility, and that have you have credibility with people that I believe that are driving violence. You've invested in the community. So we can do this. If Oakland can do this, we can do this.
What strategies did you hear? Like, was there anything specific? I know we have to work together, but what strategies were talked about?
I think we're going to drill down more on that whenever we get to the next level. The strategy is next, but that's what I'm excited about. So I'm going to be a part of that next meeting. So I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to go.
There was an interesting part. I don't know. I wish I was able to be there the whole time, but there was an interesting part where the law enforcement people were out of the room, and just the faith-based people or an activist were in the room. And I think was there even divided even more, but there were separate conversations. What was the purpose behind that? Do you think?
So it was about. So I was in the faith-based room, and that conversation was about what the questions they would ask. One of our questions was, what is your biggest concern when you hear the word? What is the biggest concern regarding public safety? And so, of course, for me, I'd work with youth. My concern when I hear what's your biggest concern with public safety is I'm concerned for our youth, their safety, because I see them. They're the last ones that are thought about when it comes to their well-being. From my vantage point, they're the ones that are, they're not really regarded very highly in some situations, I've noticed. Sometimes with law enforcement I've seen, not to ever put down our law enforcement, I have the highest respect for you guys, but then I've seen certain officers, there are certain, and we've talked about this before, there are certain officers that I just want to deal with these kids and have them move on because they're a nuisance. And kids can be like that, I get it. The kids that I deal with are difficult, they are difficult. But I have a concern for them because they're our future. I'm concerned for their public safety. And so we talked about that from a faith-based perspective, how can we tackle that? And then it was just gathering information from everybody's perspective so then we could go back into the larger group. And there was like 6 people, I think, that popped up and shared what their perspective was from there.
This was also unique because I've done a lot of town halls and community gatherings, and when the police come in the room, it is Katie bar the door. I mean, they just always unleash their issues with the police.
Yeah,
I didn't feel that this way. How was he able to keep the community from really bashing on their bad experiences with law enforcement?
Pastor Mike just really knows how to command the room and bring peace. He's a peacemaker. He lives that part of the scripture out about the importance of being a peacemaker. And so even when there was one person that stated the tension she felt with the officers in the room, he navigated that so well.
Yeah.
And he said, I empathize with that feeling. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but he mentioned that he empathized her feeling and said, we're beginning the conversation. And he disarmed that, and the officers went over and hugged that person, that woman. And it was actually a beautiful moment. It turned out fine. Yeah. But it was almost like that elephant had to be addressed in the room,
Right. And because we in law enforcement, we are guilty of this one thing. And she highlighted it. Yeah. She said, when I walked in the room, And I saw that group of officers in their uniforms standing there with their hands on their belt and they're so stiff and squared off.
Yeah.
I just kind of went the other way. I didn't want to be a part of that. I mean, it was just kind of intimidating. And she said, there's some stuff I need to work through. That's not exactly fair. She owned that.
She did own that, yeah.
And she went on. She says, but it felt uncomfortable. And then they recognized that, and then one of the deputy chiefs went over and told her, I'm sorry we made you feel that way, and hugged. Now, I know her, so I'm gonna tell her, you walk around with a bulletproof vest on all day long and see how stiff you're going to be. I mean, it makes you. And you walk around with it. You're always adjusting it, and it's not a cocky. I mean, I can know what I see what it looks like.
Sure.
But that's things that we can't really control. That uniform, we have to wear that. Things we could control is like now we know that sitting together, congregating like that makes us look like an armed force.
Sure. Yeah.
And although we're just like you, I'm looking for somebody that I know to sit with, and I know them, and so it kind of come up that. What are you doing here at City Center to kind of amp it up or be prepared for the summer?
So this summer, my wheels started turning at the meeting, and so we're going to start. I'd like to have some more conversations around the whole topic that we're beginning with the Peace Summit. You know what I mean? I'd like to have. We're going to have some summer programming with our youth. I'd like to have some conversations with officers. I'd like to have some officers here in War Acres come through, because we've had some. We have several officers on speed dial here at City Center. So, but I am going to have some more conversations, obviously, with JB as it relates to the Peace Summit and what the next steps are. And whatever comes out of those conversations, we're going to integrate some things here at City Center with that. So again, the strategy points are coming up.
Yeah. What about? So there's a peace walk.
Yeah.
We're coming, and I think we're starting that throughout the summer. We're doing peace walks in the summer. What do we got to do to get the kids?
Definitely, yeah.
And not just kids, young adults. I'm talking 18, 25.
Oh, yeah.
How do we get them to be a part of these peace walks?
That's a good question. I just was speaking with the gentleman that goes to Langston, who's here tonight serving the kids that are here. We're going to work with getting some of the students that need some credit hours and stuff like that to volunteer here. I'm going to definitely connect with him and say, hey, let's get some of these college students out here. I like to connect with SNU and the other colleges, Southwestern Christian, some of these colleges around here, because it seems like college students are really big into activism. It'd be really nice to get some of those students. But man, I'm a mouthpiece for this movement right now.
Right,
I was fired up Saturday. Talking to Pastor Scobie too, got really fired up yesterday on the phone, just really excited about this movement. It's affected me so much, and it's been so many years since that happened to me. But Saturday it just lit a fire underneath me, because I'm thinking we got this down to a science a little bit right now. We know what we need to do. There's tangible numbers we can tackle. Let's go. Let's organize. Let's mobilize.
Right.
Let's
we
get people
almost
involved.
know to the zip code.
Yeah, exactly.
We almost know the people for the most part. I mean, there's the intelligence. So working with police and all of these resources, we can kind of. But one of the suggestions I like that I took away from was everything that we're doing this summer. Anybody that's doing anything this summer, is to tag it under peace.
Yes.
And let's all support it under peace.
Yeah.
And so when you do something, I want to call attention to it as a peace movement.
Yeah.
When I do something, I call on a big community event, let's make it all about peace.
Absolutely.
And everybody support everybody's peace movement, whatever it is. If it's the basketball thing, if it's the peace walk, whatever it is, let's label it, let's tag it, let's publicize it as a community-wide effort toward intentionally focusing on peace.
Yeah.
Right. There's some other things too, right?
Yeah. We have a big back to school bash July 30th too. So that's going to be a big event that we're going to definitely talk about everything happening with the Peace Summit, and we want to highlight everybody else's events that are going on as well with what we do. So tons of exciting things going on. But that's why I love Pastor Mike's approach of him being a peacemaker, because when we pull this under the umbrella of peace, nobody loses on that. So
Nobody lose it.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you always being willing to share your story.
Yeah.
And show me your finger, because
Oh,
that freaks the
You see
kids
it?
out when you do that.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
It always freaks the kids out.
Yeah, and I'm terrible too. You know, the kids will be playing or something like that, and there was this one kid who was playing with a toy car, and it was on the table, and I stuck my hand out, and he ran over, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And I was like, he freaked out. I was like, "No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's terrible. It's a terrible
So
founder."
you use your story to connect with
Yeah.
kids, and then call them into goodness and peaceful behavior. And if you don't get them with the finger, if you don't get them with your story,
Yeah.
you get them with your shoes. You always bring in you always
I
wear
try.
expensive shoes around kids and
You know.
nice kicks.
Hey, I got so that when it's oddly enough, when they see me coming, they think cop or military. I'm like, no. Let me tell you a story. No, the cops were chasing me at one point in my life.
That's right.
I'm not a cop. So
There's another part of the story that we won't get into, but I really love the reconciliation part of this story, right?
Restorative justice.
The cop
Absolutely.
that actually shot you, doing his job, protecting himself, but the relationship you formed with him
Yep.
years later.
Yep.
It's a great story, and I know there's a book out there you ought to be pushing.
I do.
'Cause it's
Yeah.
right.
have a book, yep.
It's really good.
It's on
so
Amazon.
tell us how to get the full story, and then tell us how to connect with City Center and all the stuff.
yeah. So you can go on Amazon and get that book that you're talking. Get the full story. It's called Full Circle God. It's a really quick, easy read. But yeah, I'd love for you to grab it. But yeah, my social media handle for City Center is at OK City Center, and Facebook's the same. So yeah, and our website is OK City Center or okcity.center. I forgot my website. So yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
It's on the screen, I'm sure. These guys
Okay,
have got it.
awesome.
So here's the thing I want to tell you guys. Thank you so much for having us here, and thank you so much for joining us on Conversations with Cupid. But I got to remind you that you need to buy your tickets now for the show. I think it's called Deep Greenwood, the hidden truth about the Black Wall Street. You got to get them there. It's at OCCC. The tickets are on sale now, and I'm going to be there June the 5th with me and my whole family. You need to get those tickets now before they sell out. Don't wait. Do it now. But until then, we'll see you next week here on Conversations with Cupid. Thank you.